Okay guys, welcome to another episode of They Did What. Now this one, Activision, bloody hell, where do you start? This is quite a monumental one. Now, I mean Activision, they started, when was it? I think it was 1979. Activision really originated, it was 3 or 4 programmers, David Crane, Larry Kaplan, Alan Miller and Bob Whitehead. They were all Atari programmers, and they basically went to see the CEO to say that, you know, the company should treat developers as record labels. In other words, they should get their names on the games. And he basically called the 4 guys towel designers and told them that anyone can do a cartridge. So the 4 of them left Atari and founded Activision in October 1979, and as we know, the rest is history. I mean, the company is still going. In fact, as of, I think I saw it down here, as of January, I think it was 2017, Activision is the 3rd biggest software house. So I mean, they're still making stuff now. I think they make Call of Duty, stuff like that. But anyway, yeah, this video would literally run for 2 weeks if I was to try and feature every game. So what I've done, as you can see from the title, this is basically going to be covering the games from the early years, from sort of 1979 up to 1985. I will then endeavour to do a follow-up from 1986 onwards. It's unlikely I'm going to look at stuff, you know, for the PS4, because I don't have any way of obviously showing the games as such. But anyway, enough about that. So this is Activision, the early years. So I'll just let you enjoy some classic artwork, and we shall play some games soon.
Ghostbusters!
Right, okay, kicking things off, guys, is the Great American Cross Country Road Race. Now, this is the Atari 800 version I'm looking at. I did buy this for the C64 and I actually quite enjoyed it. So starting, what kind of set it apart from other driving games is there was actually a bit of strategy involved. You had to basically get from one side of the America to the other, and you could pick what sort of direction you went in. You could pick what way you're going to go. And one part of the game was there was fuel, so you had to be very careful you didn't run out of petrol, or gas as they would call it in America. And also you can see there's a radar. If you were going too quick, the police would chase you and pull you over. So you had that to kind of contend with, as well as actual driving. And you can see here you're actually driving at night time. So there's a lot of different, there we go, radar warning. Either slow up or you just plain put the foot down. And I have just been pulled over. But it was quite a tactical driving game. You know, it was more endurance rather than, you know, foot to the floor type thing. You had to kind of be aware of your fuel, and also, you know, not speeding too much as well. So really good game, not for everybody, but I mean, I remember I bought it and I thought, oh, I'm not actually that keen on it, but when I actually made a point of playing it, I actually really enjoyed it. I can't see me get up through the gears here. I don't know what's going on. I don't think you could blow your engine in this game. But the road movement is pretty good for quite an early game. So that is the Great American Cross Country Road Race, and that was the Atari 800 version. It was also out in the C64. Right, this one is a Barnstormer. Now, you need to apologise now about my complete lack of being able to play some of these games. I just put it on and record it. Now, this is on the Atari 2600. Now, you can also, you've got to avoid the buildings. And I think you've got to avoid the birds as well. You know, look, playing these games sort of 35 years on from when they came out, especially if you've never played them before, it's easy to think, you know, how basic they were. And yeah, they were basic games, but you know what, back then that's what we had. There was no Call of Duties, there was no whatever, you know, Halos and that kind of stuff. This was what we had, and it was all about the playability of the games. I mean, you look at the sort of graduation of the colour in the background of the sky, that's really nice. You know, we're talking about a machine here that's got something like 4K of memory. You know, you can even see the little scarf of the pilot flapping in the wind there. That's a nice little touch. So that is a Barnstormer, it says, and that was on the Atari 2600. Or Atari VCS if you're from the UK. Right, this next one, this was a particular favourite of mine. This was Barry McGuigan's Boxing. Now, this game came out obviously in the back of Barry McGuigan, who was a world lightweight champion. I think he was lightweight, or was he featherweight? I think he might have been featherweight actually. An Irish boxer, really nice guy, and he was an awesome fighter. And like any time there's a big sporting name, they always bring out games based on with their name in it, and this actually turned out to be a really good tactical boxing game. Some of the early boxing games, even stuff like Frank Bruno's Boxing, I wasn't a big fan of. It was just felt very kind of arcadey, but this one you really had to plan your tactics well. At the top there you've got your stamina, or it says end, sorry, that's endurance I should say. Well, it's quite appropriately end. When that gets to 0, it is the end. So you've got to be mindful of your endurance. You know, you've got to block, throw punches as and when. I always just used to go hell for leather and just keep punching. whereas it wasn't always the best way to to get through a fight. And yep, again, looking at this game now, it does look very basic, but I played this so much. I never won the game. You had to eventually work your way up and take on Barry McGuigan. I think I got to maybe third, but I could just never actually get past that point. But it's a great game, it really is. And I'm down, and you know what, the feeling the feeling of joy when you actually put the guy in the canvas was incredible. You know, you really felt like you were a bit of a real boxer, especially when you get the little the sort of anthem to announce that you've won. It's fantastic. So I won that round, 10 points to 8 points. And even the sound effects, when you land a punch, you really felt like it was like leather on leather. Or leather on skin, I should say. Really, really satisfying sound effects. And what was quite unusual for its time was you could actually, I skipped past it, you could actually sort of design your boxer. You could pick what colour of skin, what colour of hair, and also what colour of trunks you wore. So that was, you know, that's something that's accepted nowadays, but back in 1984 or 1985 I think it was quite a big thing. So the secret was to get his endurance down and then hopefully go for the knockout bit. And I'm down. 3 times you're knocked down and it's fight over. But anyway, that is Barry McGuigan's Boxing. That is an absolute classic game. Right, next up is a favourite of mine again. This is Beam Rider. It's a early shoot 'em up. Now I think this is, I'm trying to remember, I think this is the Atari 800 version. I think it is. I can't remember. Or is this the Atari 2600 one? No, I think this is the Atari 800 version. I can't remember exactly, you know what. But anyway, yeah, this was a lovely shoot 'em up by Activision. Kinda similar to what would you call it, Juno First. Now I don't know whether Juno First was actually out in arcades when this game came out, because it does lend itself quite a lot to that game. And it also in some ways feels slightly kind of Tempesty. You know, there are some levels of Tempest are played on a sort of flat plane, and it kind of feels a bit like this as well. But again, it's an incredibly basic looking game, but when you get drawn into the game, you know, you do get into the zone and you almost like become one with the game. I know that sounds dead hippie and, you know, whatever, far out, but it does, especially when it, you know, it starts getting harder and you want to have the sound turned up nice and loud as well. It's a lovely game. It's a very basic looking game, but it's enormous fun. It really is. Next one, this is Boxing. This is on Atari 2600. Now again, it's easy to look at that and probably think, what on earth is that? What am I actually looking at here? But from what I gather, this is actually quite a good boxing game. This is the first time I've ever played it. You know, I didn't actually own an Atari 2600 back in the day, unfortunately. I always wanted one, but I was never actually going to get one. Obviously the 2600 only had the one fire button, so, you know, it wasn't possible to have multiple controls. I mean, I don't know that I'm sure they adapted the controls to, you know, different joystick movements with the fire button. But you know what, if you look at it for what it is, you're looking down in your boxer. You know, it's your imagination would basically fill in the rest. You know, great stuff. I assume that's your stamina at the very top there, but yeah, it's a nice little game. Right, this one, again, it's a favourite of mine's. It's Decathlon. And this one was programmed by David Crane, who was probably the best known programmer for Activision. I mean, David Crane is still going on now. I think he's making games for mobile platforms, I'm not too sure. But when this came out, I'm sure Daley Thompson's Decathlon was already out. And as much as the graphics and the presentation of Daley Thompson's looked amazing, it sounded amazing, it didn't play that well. This one, for all its simplistic looks, played beautifully. You know, the amount of effort you put into waggling the joystick was accurately portrayed on screen. You know, whereas Daley Thompson's Decathlon always felt you could be waggling the joystick 100 miles an hour, and sometimes you weren't going that fast. And then other times you wouldn't be waggling it as quick and it went quicker. But this game was great. You'd really got a sweat going when you played this game. I mean, me and my mate James, we used to, would be down there on the floor giving it laldy, really trying to compete with each other. And it was the one and only game where it was a physical competition. The physical strength that you had in your arm to get that joystick moving as quick as possible. That would result in you winning, and it was just amazing. I loved it to bits. It does look incredibly simplistic now, right enough, but for the time, it's awesome. And then you've got the absolutely sod of an event, which is the 400 metres, and you're literally got to waggle a joystick non-stop for about a minute. It just absolutely killed your arm. Stupid. And this next one, this is Dragster, I think it is now. I apologise right now, I have got no idea how to play this game. I tried and I was just doing that, blowing the engine. I've got absolutely no idea how to control it. I've got to say the 2600 games don't look that well, they don't look that good in this video, because obviously they're rocket sharp, whereas if this was getting played through a CRTV, a 15-inch CRT TV, it would have looked quite a bit blurrier and probably looked all the better for it as well. So this video doesn't really do the game's justice. Now, I appear to be moving, albeit very slow. I've got absolutely no idea what I'm trying to do here. Oh, I see I've stopped. Let's try and tap the fire button to see if I can go. Yeah, I've no idea. I'm sure it was a good game. To me it looks more like a mini game, but as I said, I never had an Atari 2600, so I don't know how play. You can actually move up and down as well, didn't know that. Yeah, possibly not one of their better games, but like I says, if you actually had the game, maybe you'd know what to do. So, right, next up is Enduro. Once again, this is on the Atari 2600. I believe, was this? No, I don't think there was. I was going to say that this was based on an arcade game. I don't think there was an arcade game called Judo. No, I think I'm thinking of Turbo. But yeah, you can see here it's almost a driving game, and presumably you've got to try and drive as far as you can possibly go without crashing. I don't know if there's different gears. It says 1. Really not too sure, and I'm assuming that must be the distance. Oh, we're now into snow. Different weather conditions. And what I like about that is the sort of the noise is kind of dampened slightly, because obviously you're driving in snow. But again, this was an early game, and your imagination filled in the rest. So that is Enduro. Right, this one is called Fast Tracks. And I remember getting this, I got a copy of this on my Commodore 64. I don't recall if this game was ever actually released in the UK. but I think it only came on disc. Might be wrong, but I'm sure I had it on disc. Right, race on this track, yes, right, okay. Course is being built and landscaped. I always remember thinking these little comments were actually true, whereas it was just the computer was rendering the road, obviously down to the speed of the computer. So this game, I remember getting it, thinking it looked absolutely phenomenal, and it does. I mean, you'll see here, it plays extremely well. It's kind of got more in common with Skeletrix. The car sort of automatically turns. I mean, I think, yeah, you can influence the turning, and you can also move left and right. I don't know why I'm kind of stopping. Seems to accelerate itself there. Yeah, I remember thinking this looked amazing, and then when I actually got it, I realised it was actually quite limited. It wasn't actually that good a game, and for that reason I don't think I actually played it all that often. It was very, very basic. But it looked nice, you know, and that's what sold games back in the day. Some of these games that came from America, they looked incredible. You know, we'd never seen anything like it before. I think it's because disc drives were so much more popular in America. They could afford to put out bigger and better looking games because of the storage facility, whereas in the UK it was primarily tapes, and so multi-load games really weren't really a thing. I mean, they became a thing obviously later on when Ocean started putting out these big sort of film tie-ins, but generally most games were a single load because it was tape. But so you had disc games like this which did look incredible, but ultimately it wasn't that good a game. So that is Fast Tracks. Right, this game, I bought this. It's not a game, it's a utility now. I actually went out and bought this. I'm sure it was maybe $19.99, or was it $14.99? It was quite a lot of money compared to what games were going for then. It basically allowed you to put together some basic little games and demos using a sort of in fact you used the joystick. There was no typing involved. You may have typed numbers and that kind of stuff, but primarily it was you just used the menu. Now the furthest I got with this, what I'll do is I'll load up a demo just to kind of let you see. The furthest I actually got with this was I made a demo, and it was fully, if I remember rightly, it had a dog running, it had somebody getting his head chopped off, and it had some music, and it also had like say hello to all my friends. I really wish I still had it, but it was lost in the mist of time. It was before the internet and what have you, so it's long gone. So yeah, that there, I mean, it was, looking at it now, sprite exposition, it seems quite complicated, but I managed to put together this demo which went on for a good few minutes. So with a bit of patience, you know, you could put together some nice stuff. So let's try and load Pitfall. There we go. It did come with a few demo games, so this will let you see kind of what it's capable of. Now I've got to say, I've actually speeded this up because the loading time on the 1541 disc drive was horrendously slow. So, so it's loading a picture now. Okay, and we're down to, you can see there's all the code, Activision. So it was kind of basic language. Right, let's go down to run and run this bad boy. Right, I can't seem to actually play the game. I've got to run again, but you can see there just how good that looks. You know, it was quite a powerful little game maker. But I don't know why it doesn't want to. It doesn't want to let me actually play it. But yeah, if you had the patience, it was a wonderful little utility. I mean, the other things came along from Sensible Soccer that probably did it bigger and better, but for an early utility it was great. Now this one, an absolute classic game, Ghostbusters. I bought this in 1984, I think it was. It got really good reviews, and yeah, I played this an awful lot. Yep, looking at it now, it's pretty basic. You know, it's just a series of very basic little mini games, with the main sort of bit laid out, but a basic game. But again, for its time, you felt like you were taking part in Ghostbusters, and then obviously you had the absolute kick-ass music as well. And then when you hit spacebar, it would shout out Ghostbusters. It was an amazing little bit of programming. So yeah, you start off with £10,000 and you can purchase one of 4 machines, but you've obviously got to make sure you leave money for equipment. Let's just pick anything. I've gone for the smallest car, which has the least amount of space in it. You need traps. Without any traps you can't capture the ghost, so you need to make sure you've got a couple of traps at least. And the vacuum you use to soak up the ghosts as you drive over them. So that'll do. Let's end. There we go. Now you want to try and get to the haunted street in the shortest line possible, because the longer the line is, the longer it actually takes to get there. And all the time the city's peaky energy is rising. I think when it gets to, is it 1,000? Then you get transported to Zool and you've got to try and finish the game. So drop a trap. Now the way I used to do this was I didn't bother with 2, I'd wait for him to move like that and then just push him across using the right hand man. I've got 3 traps, so what you don't want to do is move about randomly. Now the ghosts all start on the outer edges, the outer 4 corners, and they move towards the centre of the screen. If you move over a ghost when you're, plotting your route, the ghost does appear in this screen and you can press the fire button to soak him up. Because the more ghosts that get to the centre, the quicker the peak energy rises. That's me back at GHQ. I've now got all my traps again, so what you need to do is basically wait for another haunting, and that's, there we go, it's indicated, flashing in red, and you push up with fire button. But it was quite an addictive game. For a simple game, it was actually quite addictive. And I played this an awful lot. So drop the trap in the middle, just point him away, and then wait for the ghosts, and boom. I mean, you could use the left and right sticks to move both guys in, but you didn't have to bother with that. And you had to always make sure you never ever cross the streams. There was a lot of just kind of hanging about, so yeah, I'll go and get that ghost. Because I've moved over him, he should appear in this screen. There we go. So when you look at the game, it's a fairly basic game. There's not an awful lot to it, but it was a game where the total of all the parts outweighed, them all put together. Is that the right thing to say? You know what I mean? Collectively, it was actually a really good game. When you break it down, the actual parts themselves. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to get slimed. You get a nice sound effect. Brilliant. It was worth it just for the speech alone. So that is Ghostbusters. Right, this next one, this is Hacker 2. This is a sequel. There was an original Hacker. which we'll take a look at shortly. Now this is obviously feeding off the sort of, you know, computers getting hacked, what do you call it, war games, stuff like that. You know, it was quite you know, it was quite exciting stuff. Obviously hackers are still around today, but this was quite an unusual game to actually have a game all about hacking. So there we go, we're into the government of the United States of America. Since you have been recognised as the world's leading authority on computer security systems, the Central Intelligence Agency wishes to enlist you in its efforts to combat international crime. So you really felt like you were actually inside a system. Our agents have been able to place 3 mobile remote units within the military complex. Each has been equipped with a remote optical analyzer. I played the first one briefly and I couldn't get very far in that. I never actually played this one, so I've really got no idea of what I was supposed to do here. Yeah, that is Hacker 2. Let's take a look at the first one. So this is the original Hacker, and that is literally what it started with. Told you to log on. This one I always felt more realistic. And if I remember really, I don't think it gave you any instructions at all. You had to basically figure it out. It's very much a portrayal of a sort of Hollywood film computer where it makes a noise every time the cursor moves. Right, so what I'm trying to do here is, what's it saying here? You stick to a line laser test. Right, I need to look for the infrared video image sensor. So you have to basically point at it and then press the fire button. It was one of these games, I think it was quite, you had to sort of remember what you were doing, you know. You would eventually get to know, right, that's what that is and whatever. But all the terminology that it used, you know, you did kind of feel like you were actually interrogating a proper computer system. Quite a clever game. Probably not everybody's cup of tea. I mean, I did play it briefly, but as is the case with me, I get stuck and I just kind of give up after a while. And it was the same with this one. Through process of elimination. Shouldn't be too bad, no? Isn't it that thing there? Nope. Feldman port, I've got no idea. You think of that black thing? No, it's not. Ah, it is. Right, okay, so you just had to be exactly over it. Right, that was Hacker. That was quite a good game. Right, talking of good games, this is Hero. This is a fantastic game. Again, basic graphics, but an absolutely blinding game. The idea of the game is to infiltrate the caves and rescue the little guys at the bottom. They're usually parked in a corner, sitting on their backside, and they wave to you when you get to them. Now you've got a little helicopter, whatever you want to call it, I don't know what you call it. If you press up, you'll fly upwards. If you release the joystick, you fly down, so gravity always takes a hold. You've got a little laser which you can use to shoot baddies, and you can also destroy walls. So there's a wall there, and what you can do is if you pull down and press fire button, you see there at the right hand side, the bottom right underneath the yellow line, I've got 5 kind of bomb things. Pulling down, pressing fire button deploys a bomb. So but what you've got to do is you've got to run away, because if you stand beside it you'll die. But if you do happen to run out of bombs, you can actually basically blast the walls with your laser. So it's kind of like jetpack slightly, the sort of the actual movement of the character. It's one of these games, the levels, they don't get that big, which just keeps the game flowing really well. You've got to be very careful, because sometimes when you fall down a hole you don't know what's below you. You can see there's a big kind of green arm thing, snake head, I don't know what it is, trying to grab you, so you've got to be very careful. You've got to make sure you don't fall on top of these things. And you can see there's also lights, which if you fall past you basically trigger, and it puts the whole place into darkness. So it's a really well put together game. Again, this is the C64 one, but I think it came out in Atari. I think did it come out in the 2600? I'm not too sure. But it's a lovely game. It's definitely one of my, if not, yeah, I would say it's definitely in my top 3 favourite Activision games. It's just a phenomenal game. Now that red stuff is kind of dangerous. You touch that, it's instant death. So for such a simple game, it's just the actual levels and the baddies. Now you can't destroy these bombs. I don't think you can destroy these walls. So, and if you touch them, you die. So you need to be very careful. Or else you die. Yeah, that was Hero. Great game. This next one, this is again on the Atari 2600. It's called Keystone Kapers. Never played it before. I've got no idea what I'm doing here. I presume I am a policeman, as in the Keystone Cops, complete with truncheon. Oh, there's a bad guy with his stripy convict's suit on. Alright, I've got a complete inability to actually go anywhere here. I don't know what that was. Was it a melon or something? A watermelon? I've got a bag. Ah, right, I've just noticed at the bottom that is actually a little that's a little map. I never realised that. So I should be coming to stairs in a second. Now there you go, right, so I can go up the stairs. Right, I've got you. Right, I'm assuming I need to try and capture the criminal, I think. But I'm really not quite sure how I go about doing it. But yeah, nice looking little game. That is Keystone Kapers. Again, that was an Atari 2600. Right, this next one, this is an iconic game. It's an amazing game when you think of the limited memory. This is Little Computer People. Again, programmed with David Crane. It's not a game. It's to try and kind of pigeonhole it. I would say it's a sort of a virtual simulator. It was sold on the basis that this is actually inside your Commodore 64. This little, you've got a house inside your C64, and if you wait long enough, somebody will want to move in. And the clever thing was, I'll wait. I'll let you see kind of what happens. So there's the doorbell. There's somebody wanting to come into the house. Now apparently there was no two the same in any game. So everybody that had this game, it was different. There's the doorbell again. Is he going to come in? There he is. I remember just being gobsmacked when I saw this game. You really felt like you had a sort of virtual pet. That was before virtual pets were even a thing. Now this little guy, you could name him, you could play games with him. I mean, I don't know how much truth there was, but apparently, I mean, you had to feed him. If you didn't feed him, he would get ill, he would go to his bed, and eventually he would even die. You can see at the top there, he could put the TV on. He had a record player, he'd play the piano. type on his computer, he'd go for a shower, he'd wash his hands, he'd go to his bed, he'd make his dinner, he'd even go on the phone, and he even had, there's a little water dispenser, he would drink water, and later on he even gets a little dog, and he's got to look after it. I mean, it was a phenomenal bit of programming, really, really clever. Even the way the noise changes as he walks in the lino. You know, really genius. So there you go, he's now on his computer. Yeah, look again. Looking at it now, you'll see it's very limited. But you know, you need to understand that this was running on a computer with probably, I don't know, about 40k of available memory. I mean, 40k wouldn't even get you an email now. You know, that's just how amazing the programming was. Something like this. What's he going to do? Is he going to go and put the TV on? Is he going to play a record? He's nodding to you. I mean, you could type in commands and sort of talk to him, interact with him. You could ask him if he wants to play a game. He did have quite a limited AI, but you know, the fact that you could even do that was amazing. I'm not quite sure, is that a bed on the right hand side? I don't think I ever recall getting my wee guy to go in there. Now you could name him, so you did actually get quite close to him. You know, you became quite attached to the little guy. I don't know if this was released in any other system. So there again, he's in the lino in the kitchen, and you've got the different sound effects of him walking. I think he can he use the sink? Can't remember. What's he going to do here? Oh, he's going into the fridge. Yeah, wonderful thing. That was Little Computer People. Hey, this one is Master of the Lamps. This was one freaky game. You've got to wonder what some people were on when they came up with ideas for these games. This one actually had some really nice music and some real trippy visuals. Actually, looking at this game now, it's actually fairly impressive looking. Love the music as well, it's just so wacky. Kind of distorted sort of synth sound. That sounds just like a TV theme programme. Don't know what one like, but it sounds like it should be a TV theme programme. Title music. But yeah, this was cutting edge of creativity. This was back when everything went. You know, there's none of this playing it safe like they do nowadays, where everything's got to be based on games that have gone before. There was so much creativity back then. Now this bit here, I could never figure it out. It's kind of like a Simon Says, I think. You've got to get the right order with the gongs. Now I'm sure if you hit the right note, you get some little genie appearing at the top of the screen. I think. It says it's been 35 years since I played this game. Almost 4 decades, which is just mental. Oh, hang on, we're getting something. There he is. He's blowing smoke. I've got no idea what's going on. It's just mental. Little musical note. I don't know if that was good or bad. I have absolutely no idea. Mental. Anyway, that's Master of the Lamps. Quite a bizarre little fun game. This next one, On Court Tennis. I bought this because I thought it looked amazing, and it never really clicked with me. The thing that I don't like about this game is you don't actually control the player, you just control the shot that he plays. Compared to Match Point, which was on the Spectrum, in fact there was also Match Point was on the Commodore 64, this one looked really impressive, nice graphics, but I just wish you had the option to actually move the player, but all you could do here was actually control the shot, and it was quite fidgety to do, quite difficult. As you can see here, I'm doing a really good demonstration of just how difficult it is. I think his actual movement of the ball is actually pretty good. If I can figure out how to hit the damn thing. That was too late. Oh, right, good way, yeah, beauty. Now I think this actually reviewed fairly well, because apparently once you suss the controls, then you can get some good rallies going. But I just never had the patience for it. Now there was a game also called On Court Football, which was American football. Now oddly, I couldn't actually find that to feature in this. I think there was also one. Was it American foot? Yeah, it was American football, and there was also another one, tennis, baseball, possibly. Can't remember, but yeah, it's a nice little tennis game. I says it just takes a bit of practice, as you would expect. I mean, any real sport takes practice. You don't instantly become good at it. That's too long. And that's John 1-0 up against John. It's a pity they didn't give you the sort of chance to actually control the player and maybe have automatic mode as well, but you don't, you've just got to. I think the idea behind it was the computer, in real life you don't have to think about getting from A to B. If you see the ball coming towards you, you don't have to, it's an unconscious thing. So I think that's what David Crane was trying to do with this. He was trying to, he was controlling the movement and letting you just concentrate purely on the shot, which I suppose does make a bit of sense. So yeah, that was on-court tennis. This next one, Park Patrol. Got a nice little cartoony thing. Now you've got to, right, I thought you had to rescue the swimmers. You need to avoid them. You'll see there are 12 Coca-Cola or soft drink cans, which you've got to try and collect. People have discarded them. You're in a sort of national park. Some nice kind of parallax scrolling effect. You'll see there how the foreground moves quicker than the background, giving a nice kind of 3D-ish effect. You need to avoid all the turtles, I think it is. Some nice little water current kind of movement as well. I always enjoyed this game. It was a really good fun game to play. So I've got how many? I've still got 7. I've got 6 to collect now. Right, 4 to go. What did that do there? Did that? I have no idea what that did actually. The graphics are nice. Yeah, let's jump back in the boat again. There's bound to be. Oh, there's another one down there. We've got 3 to go. There's one there. There's 2 actually. So get that one, get this one, then there's only 1 left. And then it should be on to the next level, which is basically more of the same, but I think there's. Oh, there we go. There we are, level 2. Yeah, and this time it's bottles rather than Coca-Cola cans, but that's a great little game. That is Park Patrol. Right, this one is Pathfinder. Now this is a Atari 8-bit version I've featured. It was also released on the Commodore 64 and I did buy it. It was a game that I really wanted to like, but I just couldn't quite get to grips with it. It's almost like a thinking man's shoot 'em up. You know, I couldn't really figure it out. You've got radiation levels at the bottom, a little radiation meter. You've got to avoid baddies and obviously shoot them as well, and you can jump. can move left and right as well. I don't know if you can jump over the walls. I don't think you can. I think you've got to go through the gaps in the wall. And you can see the radiation level was going up quite a bit there, so. But I remember Zap, I think Zap magazine reviewed this in its very first issue, and it did get some good scores. It was a good game, but I just couldn't. Yeah, it's a kind of map you can see there. I can decide where I want to go, and you can also, yeah, you've got different sort of upgrades. So I probably never really played it properly. So it's a bit more than just an action game. There was some strategy involved in the game as well. Though the graphics are simple, they're nicely animated. And you can also see with the shadows sort of what height they're at as well. It's got a rather unusual little sort of spaceship type thing that you control. I don't know what it is, a sort of spidery type walker thing. But the C64 one's virtually identical to this one. Maybe slightly less well coloured, a few more greys and browns probably in a C64 game. But yeah, it's definitely worth checking out if you want something a wee bit different. That is Pathfinder. Right, this next one, Pitfall II. What can I say about Pitfall? Or Pitfall 2 even. I don't think, did the original come out in the C64? I'm not sure. I mean, it was an iconic game. I should have really featured the 2600 version actually, because that was the big wow game that came out in the 2600. People simply didn't realise or think that the system was capable of a game as diverse as Pitfall, and David Crane just only went and wrote it and, you know, basically changed what was possible with limited hardware like the 2600. In fact, what I'll do is this is Pitfall 2. I'll have a look at Pitfall in the Atari 2600 after this. Now there are little restart points. I don't know what the idea of the game is. I did play this quite a bit, but I always found it quite difficult, and I never completed it. I liked the whole sort of exploration side of it. You've got the water as well. You can fall, if you go through there, you can actually fall into the water. And though the animation is quite basic, it's nice. You pick up little gold bars. You get carried along with the current as well. So the graphics are very, very workable. A little waterfall. That's it's an electric ray, or is it an electric snake or something? I don't know what it is. I'm guessing it's an electric ray, stingray I think. I like the way he kind of bobs up and down with the water. And then I love the way he can miraculously leap from the water like an athlete. Here we go. Ding! I wish I could do that at local swimming baths. And what you've got to be really careful is you don't miss the steps and just fall, because you can end up just falling and falling and falling, and then you end up going all the way back to a restart point. I mean, the sprites are very, very basic, but again, they're workable. It's just your imagination fills in the rest. So that is Pitfall 2. That was on the C64. Now this is the game I was talking about. This was the one that just revolutionised Atari 2600. It made people realise just what an amazing machine Atari actually was. People didn't think that a game of this sort of calibre was possible. Even the graphics are really detailed. I mean, there's not a lot of difference between the character animation of that little guy in Atari 2600 one. I mean, here you've got a rope you've got to jump over a sort of, is it a lava pit or is it just falling into the cavern below? I'm not too sure. Little Tarzan sound effect. Yeah, a wonderful game. I mean, seriously, this was impressive. It still is impressive even now. Yeah, it's always a hole of doom. Oh, bollocks. Let's have another quick wee shot. Try going this way. Oh, we've got some angry crocodiles. I assume you have to. It's not like Frogger where you can jump on their heads. I'm assuming you've got to swing across. Even animating a rope like that is really, really clever. You know, when you appreciate this how basic Atari 2600 is. Now I missed the stairs there and basically fell down. When you think of this whole game is in like 4K of memory, it's just it's mind blowing how clever these guys were. So that is Pitfall, and that is on Atari 2600. Now this is River Raid, and this is on the Atari 8-bit. This is a game that's been released for pretty much every micro ever. It's a lovely, lovely game. I think it was written by a lady. I don't know her name. Obviously you've got to navigate up the screen along the river. You've got fuel. You can see your fuel gauge, and you can replenish your fuel by basically driving over the fuel. If you slow up, your fuel will keep going up. You can destroy fuel, which doesn't give you any points, and it's not really recommended. You can also obviously move left and right, but you can also actually make your bullets swerve. So when you fire and then pull the joystick one direction, the bullet will actually move in that direction very briefly. So you can kind of guide the missiles to a very, very minor degree. And it's a simple game, but it's wonderful. It really is. I mean, it's an all-time classic game, River Raid. It's basically it's a take on the shoot 'em up, but there's just that bit more to actually think about and do. And then the further, you know, once you get through a bridge like so, it just gets, there's more and more boats and helicopters and less fuel, so it gets harder and harder and harder. And the sound's actually pretty good as well. So yeah, you don't want to be too trigger happy, because you end up doing what I'm doing and you end up destroying the fuel, because you run out of fuel, you lose a life. I knew that was going to happen, but that's River Raid. Wonderful game. This next one, Rockin' Bolt. I did have this and I could never really get to grips with it. Now I think the idea is, have you got to try and make the shape of that blue thing below? Now you're a riveter, so basically when you stand over one of the holes and press the fire button, it puts a rivet in and it stops the wee blue thing sliding up and down. Like so. So that's, you've put a rivet in, and that kind of looks, right, okay. Now wait a minute, that's not right, because that isn't going to be right. You know what, honestly, I can't remember how to play this game. I didn't play it very often at the time. No, it's not possible to rearrange these into that blue shape. If you look at the top of it, you can't possibly get that. So I'm really not too sure actually what I'm doing here. You know, it's more puzzle than arcade. And I think if you press the fire button over a rivet, I think you can wait a minute, right. Why is that going yellow? That wee bit at the bottom's going yellow. Does that mean I've completed it? So we're going to start moving again. Right, you know what, I'm really not too sure what I'm doing here. But if you're into kind of puzzly games, go and check out. Watch another YouTube video and see how to play it. Because I ain't got a clue, boy. Aye, that's Rockin' Bolt. Right, this next one, this is called Skiing. There's no hiding the fact what game this is, it's skiing. And I've got to say the actual control of this is pretty good. If you've not guessed it, this is again on the Atari 2600. And it actually looks and plays pretty well. This was literally because these games, because this thing, computer industry, was still in its infancy. You could get a game and just call it skiing. Can you imagine bringing out a game now and call it skiing or drive? You know, you've got to give a game a proper name now. But back then there was no such thing as computer games, so Activision could release skiing, and you know, it was perfectly acceptable. But aye, that looks not a bad little skiing game. Right, this one released in 1985. This is Tour de France, and it's obviously based on the cycling event. Now, I did buy this game and I was quite disappointed with it, I have to say. I didn't play it very often because I just found the game too damn difficult to play. Let's see if I find it just as difficult. Right, players 1, 2. I remember thinking it looked really good, the graphics looked good, and it sounded really exciting, sort of, you know, Tour de France, cycling, all these different stages. Right, so here we are, I'm the little cyclist on the left hand side. Now, how I actually move, pressing forwards, the fire button doesn't do very much. Left and right, turns you left and right. I press the fire button really fast. You know what, I think this was the same problem I had back in the day. I just couldn't figure out how to actually control the damn game. I always thought the graphics looked really nice. It looked, you know, 3D. It looked really impressive for an early computer game. Right now I'm at a complete loss as to what I'm trying to do here. You just don't want to perform. You can see all the little guys, even a bit of animation going on there. Yeah, as you can see, I still haven't learned how to play the game. I've got no idea how I'm supposed to move. I don't know. Let's move on. But that's Tour de France, not one of their better games. Right, this is Toy Bazaar. Now this is the only Spectrum version I showed, because to be honest, there weren't that many Spectrum games released. Certainly the very, very early ones weren't released. They were all released in the Commodore 64 and Atari. But yeah, Toy Bazaar, it's a game that I know it's highly rated. I remember Julian Rignall of Zap said it was one of his favourite games, but I never actually had it on the C64. I don't know why. I don't know if it was actually available to buy in the UK, but I never even had a copy of it. I never played the game. So this is my first ever shot, and I've really got no idea. You apparently work in a toy factory. Now you can see there, I'm switching the machines. Am I trying to turn them all off? I'm not too sure. But graphics are nice, you know, nice and functional. Yeah, I'm sure you're obviously, I think you're working in it as a toy factory, something like that. Yep, so when you run over these things, you switch them off. I can only assume you're trying to turn them all off, I'm not quite sure. But again, have a look at another video on YouTube, you'll find out how to play the game. Because it is supposed to be a good game, but this is the first time I've ever played it. And due to the number of videos or the number of games I've got to play for these things, I simply don't have any time to sit, you know, to sit and practice it. I just wire straight in and see how I get on. So yeah, that bizarre game is quite wonderfully toy bizarre. Right, next one is Web Dimension. I don't believe, well in fact it got rated by Zap, and I think it got a really poor game. I'm not even all that sure as to what I'm actually doing here. I appear to be controlling the red musical note. What I'm trying to do with it, I have got no idea. So I can move sort of like up, down, left and right along the sort of web. But I've really got no idea what I'm actually... right, okay, pressing the fire button kind of makes music. Nice little sound effect, I must say, but yeah, I've got no idea. There's not even, you'll notice there's not even a score. But I think that's why Zap didn't rate it that highly. They just said it was just bit too strange, bit too left field. It was possibly a game you'd imagine Jeff Minter releasing, but at least his games have got a score and some sort of point. But I don't know what the point of his game was. I shouldn't really give it a hard time, because you know, if you'd bought the game, you'd have had instructions, so you'd have some sort of idea as to what you're actually trying to do. But for the purpose of this video, I have got no idea whatsoever. So yeah, that is Web Dimension. And this one again, so on the Atari 800, you can probably tell the slightly better colour palette. This is called Zindzi. Zindzi, it's a sort of puzzly type game. You're trying to link all these things together, possibly. So pressing the fire button rotates the thing, and also rotates the kind of green pipe things. So again, it's more a puzzle game than an arcade. You should really try and think about what you're trying to do here. I don't think I ever owned this game. I've heard of it. I remember reading all about it and seeing pictures of it, but I never actually bought it, or I don't think I never even had a copy of it. It's not the kind of game that would really interest me. But yeah, as you can see guys, there's Activision. I mean, their early catalogue is just a mixed bag. I mean, some of the games in the Atari 2600 were just incredible, you know, and that's why Activision are still going, because they constantly push out high quality software. There's really not, you know, that much, there's not really any bad games at all between them. Although there's a few games like this which I have got no idea what I'm actually trying to do. Sorry, there's actually one more game to come after this. I thought that was the last one. We've got one more after this. But yeah, I mean, there's not many companies that have been going since the very early 80s right up till today. I mean, they're putting out stuff like the Call of Duty franchises and Doom. Did they put out Doom as well? I can't remember, I'm not sure, but yeah, I mean, they've been going for years and years and years, and like I says, they basically started because Atari refused to give the programmers recognition for what they'd actually done. So the 4 or 5 ex-Atari programmers decided to jump ship and start their own company, and that company became Activision. Yep, got no idea what I'm doing there. That's Zindzi, and the very last game, this is Zone Ranger. This is a lovely, lovely game. It reminds me very much, again this is on the Atari 800, it reminds me very much of, what's it called? It's in the arcades. You've basically got to mine. I can see the game but I can't remember what it's called. Sinistar. Yeah, Sinistar. You've got to mine, shoot rocks and pick up gems excuse me, whilst avoiding the big baddie. This looks like a right good, it looks like an arcade game. It's got this sort of dark background. Nice use of colour. Again, I did have this in the C64 and I quite enjoyed it. Again, it's a kind of thinking man's shoot 'em up. Warp to level 7. So it's not a question of just blasting stuff, you've actually got to think about it a wee bit as well. But yeah, I will, like I says, I'm only looking at games up to 1985. I will at some point later in the future do a follow-up to this where I include 16-bit games, because again, Activision were quite prolific I should say, in the 16-bit era, and they're still going today. I'm not going to start looking at PlayStation games, anything like that. I'll only look at, you know, up to maybe, I don't know, 1991, something like that. But as usual guys, if there's a company you want to see featured in this, please just put your comments below, and finally, thank you very much for watching.